June 28th, 2000, Diablo 2 officially releases, and it was a joyous day. Phenomenal game. I was just about 9 years old at this point. And if you go check out speedrun.com, you'll see that I've been speedrunning the game for about the past 4 years or so. And if you go look a little bit deeper, you'll see that we actually got the world first place for Pacifist Paladin on August 21st of 2020. Now here's the wild part. The biggest problem with the Pacifist World Record speedrun is getting past Lord Seis. He can cast Bestow and be bestowed, basically meaning he can ridiculously regen, you can never outdamage him. If you follow the Pacifist category at all, this is like the thing. This is what everybody is worried about. And it turns out we were just wrong the entire time. And not only that, it's actually a bug that applies to a lot more things than just the pacifist speedrun. And this might be one of the reasons why you've had trouble farming super uniques, getting through hardcore runs, clearing out Bale's Throne Room or Chaos Sanctuary. And I finally have all the information so I can explain to you why monsters just regenerate when they shouldn't. Now, for this to make sense at all, you need to understand like a pretty small but significant functionality in the game. And it's that every single monster has a life regeneration rate. If you do damage to them over time, they'll heal. And this doesn't apply to very specific monsters. It doesn't apply to act bosses. It doesn't apply to super unique monsters. It doesn't apply to the seal bosses or the ancients or anything like that. Basically, any monster that you have to kill in the game to be able to complete the game, including super unique monsters, do not regenerate. So for this example, let's go look at Eldritch the Rectifier. Let's clear out everything around him, put a little damage on him, and just kind of hang out with him a bit, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So here we go, we got everything around Eldritch. Let me just kill this enslaved so we don't have to deal with it. And you got Eldritch here, and if we run him around for a little bit, never letting him take any attack or takes damage, you'll see that he's like basically at exactly 50% life. He's right at the H there. And given enough time, if we kind of run around, he'll never regenerate. And that's just a factor of, again, how bosses and super unique monsters work. He will sit at the middle of his health bar forever, in perpetuity, until we, eventually kill him, right? You can keep stacking on damage, but he never regenerates. Now let me just go show you a different monster just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. We have this Pit Lord here, and I'll stack on some damage, get him just about dead, and then I'll kind of run around for a few seconds. And we'll see what happens. He's right on the eye of Pit Lord. You'll see now he's up at the T. He's just about past the T. There you go. So you just saw that tick. Base monsters will regenerate unless something were to stop that for whatever reason. The way that you stop regeneration is dealing damage on every frame. So second is made up of 25 frames in Diablo 2 logic. Every time a monster doesn't take damage on a frame, they regenerate on that frame instead. But if you've ever been in a really difficult situation on players 8 and you notice that a monster is out healing the damage that you're doing, that's why. And that all makes sense, but I was talking earlier about how we've been wrong about something this entire time. And not only that, it applies to different types of monsters. Let's go back and check on Eldritch. So we have Eldritch here. He's still just below the, where we left him, hasn't healed at all. Well, let me go ahead and do a little bit of damage to Eldritch. There we go, we did a little bit of damage, and let's run him around. Oh, Eldritch is healing. Oh, and he's healing fast. That's like significantly faster than that Pit Lord was healing when I was trying to show you on a base monster. What's the deal here? It turns out, for whatever reason, super unique monsters, this includes the seal bosses and the throne room bosses that you need to kill to be able to get to Diablo and Bale respectively, just start healing after they take damage if you've had them deactivated for longer than 8 seconds. How do you deactivate a monster? So I'm going to go ahead and use the seal bosses in the Chaos Sanctuary because ultimately this is where it's been the biggest problem. During the pacifist speedrun, getting past Lord Seis has been an absolute nightmare because he can heal himself, he doesn't really take a lot of damage, he's immune to a bunch of stuff, the list goes on, but it's this ability to be able to regenerate, which has been a problem now for 5 years of my speedrunning career, and it turns out we were just wrong about it the entire time. Now, I asked the question, what does deactivating a monster look like? If you have ever used the seal pop trick, you'll know that when you're going to click the last seal, you only have a certain amount of time to make it back down to these monsters down here and then to the seal to be able to use the trick to actually be able to kill the monsters and get their loot. And the reason why that is because it deals with activating and deactivating monsters. A monster is active upwards of 8 seconds after a time where a player is within about a screen and a half of them. Not only that, monsters maintain an active status if they are close enough to a town portal when a character leaves an area back to town. Going back to town is considered being greater than 1.5 screens away from a monster. So if you go back to town, that deactivation timer starts running. And after 8 seconds, basically the game unloads the monster because it saves them on memory and it helps them to optimize. It knows where they were respective to where they should have been when you left, and it maintains that spot, but they don't keep making AI decisions. They won't be milling around or whatever. But if you are within a certain range of a town portal, monsters maintain their active status. For whatever reason, the town portal acts as player presence. This is something that BT Neanderthal proved years ago, and it's been used for increasing kill speed against Diablo clone by being able to keep prevent monster heal up on him for you going back to town. But let me just go ahead and show you in real time what it looks like, because the cool thing about Lord Seis is he also has a pretty obvious indicator for whether or not he has been active, deactivated, and then reactivated. So let's go ahead and summon him. His minions will obviously be up here. Let's kill them and not him. And we have Lord Seis. So I'm going to keep Lord Seis right here and basically show you, if I were to sit here and, you know, do some damage to Lord Seis, no matter how long we were to sit here, he wouldn't be regenerating. He just doesn't regen. You can see right here, it's now been, I don't know, 5-10 seconds, and he just doesn't regenerate. And if I were to leave for a little bit and come back, he still won't regenerate. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to teleport away and then come back before 8 seconds are up. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi. Ooh, I was actually a little bit slow. If you notice, all of a sudden, Lord Seis has a different aura up. Did you catch that? He typically spawns with Fanaticism aura, right? That's the aura that Lord Seis spawns with. But all of a sudden, now he has Holy Fire aura. You'll notice still, though, that he isn't healing, right? You can see this health bar isn't moving. Let me go ahead and drop some telekinesis on him. And all of a sudden, he's actually healing. And you'll notice that he's actually healing pretty aggressively. My telekinesis doesn't do a ton of damage, but if you watch his health bar, you'll notice that it goes down, but sometimes it still pops back up, and it's actually not going down that slowly because he's healing on every frame in between casts. Now, here's the weird part. There's nothing I can do about this. I can go away for a really long time and super deactivate him, right? Like I could leave fully and go back to town. And when I come back, he will still be deactivated and reactivated, meaning he will be regenerating. But the weird part is that it gets even trickier to notice that this has happened. So we've been gone for a ton of time now. Let's go back up to Lord Seis. You notice that he still has Holy Fire aura, and wait a minute. All of a sudden, he isn't regenerating. But I just said he'll keep regenerating. There was no way for me to fix that. That's the second part of this weird bug. You need to do some damage to him. Upon taking damage after being deactivated and then reactivated, the monster will begin regenerating again. For whatever reason, the game recognizes that the monster isn't supposed to be regenerating because they are not supposed to be regenerating. But on taking damage, that flag, for whatever reason, is completely removed. And this will just happen forever until you either kill him or save and exit and start again. Now here's the legitimate problem with this. It's not just kind of an interesting regen bug that you might run into and give you a bit of a headache. This could legitimately stop your ability to be able to kill and clear content that you otherwise normally would be able to. So I just cleared out Players 8 Hell Chaos Sanctuary. I have Lord Seis, he's already bugged. You'll see I think he has Blessed Aim aura up. And I took a pretty powerful character that I had, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave all the gear on that I was wearing, but I swapped her over to a Nova sorceress. So this is max static field, max Nova, max lightning mastery, just for the damage components. and we're doing about 2200 to 3000 damage. This is representative of just having some pretty decent gear for trying to farm hell difficulty on a sorceress, especially a Nova sorceress. So this would be representative of plus 10 skills, right? So dual spirit gets you up to 4, Scan the Viper Magi gets you up to 5, Shaco gets you up to 7. Maybe you have a torch, maybe you have a couple skillers or an Annie at this point. But it's just generally representative of what I would consider to be a decent kit of gear for being able to clear content. Now, obviously, players 8 hell difficulty Chaos Sanctuary would be a bit beyond the pay grade of a Nova Sorceress like this, but it just goes a really great way to show you the kind of issues that you can run into. So we're in here, we have Lord Seis, he's already bugged. I'm even going to use Call to Arms here for battle command and battle orders. So we have 2200 life, 800 mana. And let me just go try and out DPS him. So we're going to static him down. That's as far as we can get him. And then I'm going to sit here and Nova. All right, we're doing some damage. Hold on. And just to show you, he is regenerating. So if you see, that's really aggressive regenning. But we'll stand here and see if I can survive long enough while dodging his attacks. He is multi-shot, so that is a bit ripperoni for me. Oh, jeez, I really can't keep up consistent damage on him for the damage output that he's putting. Now, we have near max capped res. The gear is like kind of nutty. It's a Death's Fathom, obviously that doesn't make too much sense here, but faster cast rate, 3 to Sorc skills, Flickering Flame for res, an Ormus robes, we have a Rising Sun on for absorb, bunch of res, 2 SOJs, a Mage Fist, near perfect charms down here with an Annie and a torch. We're just not able to out damage him. Now, obviously, we're not kitted for Nova, right? This isn't a good Nova build by any means, but you would assume that with this base amount of gear, you'd be able to out damage Lord Seis pretty easily, kind of regardless of the build that you're going with. He just regens at such an aggressive rate that we're having a really hard time of stacking damage up onto him with a level 30 Nova build. And while we eventually get there, it was a struggle, a lot more of a struggle than it really should be if he just wasn't regenerating at all. You do have a window of time before the deactivation and reactivation occurs. And again, this is what I'm now using in pacifist runs and what people can use to be able to manage situations like this where perhaps you need to be able to kill the boss, but you got this regeneration bug. Let me just go ahead and show you. All right, so let's go ahead and spawn him again. I want to get him up into a corner because then it's easier to kind of manipulate him. Kill off his minions, run him up here with me. And I'm going to push him into this corner because then he won't be able to run away. But again, he has his fanaticism aura like he should. Push him up into this corner where it's really easy to handle him. And then if I do a bunch of damage to him, and then I stand here, not regenerating, not a problem at all. Now this time, let me do what I just did again. I forgot that this character has less faster cast rate, so I'm only going to count to about 2 or 3 seconds and then come back here. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5. Okay, we got back in time. Lord Seis still has fanaticism aura. Let's go ahead and dump some damage onto him. And we're still good. He's not regenerating. We got back to him before he deactivated. Now, if you remember, I talked about player portals being able to represent players. So let's go ahead and drop a town portal right next to him and we'll go back to town, buy our potions, whatever we need to do. I'd say it's probably been about 10 seconds at this point. Let's go back. Okay, we're back. He still has fanaticism aura. I do some damage to him. And now we sit here and he doesn't regenerate. Now, just to show you just kind of like how ridiculous you can get, let's go do a Travancore run. We'll leave that town portal there. He'll be hunky-dory. You know when you go and you start farming Chaos Sanctuary, but then you actually go do a Travancore run first, and you know what? That wasn't enough. Let's go get Mephisto as well. Oh, we'll have to teleport this way. That's okay. We have time to kill. This is fine. Here we go. Man, I hope the Durance is close by. We don't want to be losing any time here. There it is. All right, here we go. We got Mephisto. Kill him real quick. Boop, 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 boop. Ah, nothing good. Oh, perfect. Here, we can go through here. And we'll take our town portal. And there's Lord de Seis, still has fanaticism aura up. And let me just go ahead and hit him with some telekinesis, and he doesn't regenerate. And this is probably one of the more relevant reasons for you to be concerned about this, or for you to understand this, so that you can potentially save yourself a lot of headache. And that's in Baal's throne room. So if you've ever been beating the game solo self-found, or on single player doing a challenge run, only farming on players 8, if you're on hardcore, you've probably gone to the throne room and needed to go back to town at some point. And the big problem is if this bug is happening everywhere where super unique monsters spawn, you got a problem on your hands. So let's go ahead and spawn Colenso, just so I can show you. Get some damage on him. There we go, get his minions away. There we go. And here's Colenso. And you'll notice I did some damage to him. And he's not regenerating. It doesn't matter how long he's not regenerating for, but he's just not regenerating. Now again, if I kind of walk up here, leave him near a town portal, go back to buy my potions, he should continue to not regenerate. And we're just going to kind of chill here for another few seconds to make sure that we're outside of the window of deactivation, because I don't want to have to record this twice. Okay, now we're good. And we go back in, and Colenso was hopefully close enough to our town portal. Nope, wasn't close enough. He was actually outside of the range of our town portal, which here's one of the problems with it. Since the monster stays activated near your town portal, they can move around and make AI decisions as if they were activated. And if you notice, Colenso kind of walks around a lot just in general. He's a really mobile guy. And this might be why you're running into issues either on wave 3, 4, or 5. If you notice that Lister is just an absolute beast and completely wrecking you, you probably had to go back to town at some point, whether to heal or to get potions or to rehire your mercenary perhaps. All of a sudden the monsters were out healing your DPS and you weren't able to do it. Maybe that's why you needed to save and exit and completely reset your throne room on your single player playthrough. It's this issue right here. These monsters are not supposed to be able to regenerate, and yet here they are. Now here's the question, is there any hope for you? Is there any way to break the bug? I have not found one. I've done a ton of testing, and for the longest time we thought it was just this kind of superstitious special bestow ability that for whatever reason was very special to the Chaos Sanctuary. And when I was going to make this video, I actually wasn't even going to show you people like Eldritch, etc., because I didn't think it worked for them. I actually thought that they just permanently never regened any other super unique monsters, and it turns out they just all do. From all of my testing, I've never found a way to get the game to both deactivate them enough to stop the regen and then reactivate them in a way where they won't start regenerating again after. But just as a TLDR summary wrap up, super unique monsters like Eldritch the Rectifier and Shank the Overseer, as well as seal bosses, Lord de Seis, Grand Vizier, and Infector of Souls, and then finally the throne room bosses like Colenso, Akmel the Curse, Lister the Tormentor, etc. will begin regenerating after they take damage if you have left the screen for longer than 8 seconds, whether it's going back to town to heal and get potions, just needing to run away and recuperate, going to get your mercenary, whatever. You can stop this by leaving a town portal directly on top of the monster while you leave, but it does maintain their activation, and sometimes they will move away, sometimes so far away that they will leave the activation range of the town portal. This is again something that you can even use on Declone to be able to maintain prevent monster heal on him. Again, shoutouts to BT Neanderthal for proving this way back in the day. But if you're somebody who's been having problems killing Declone for extended periods of time, getting Prevent Monster Heal on him and then running straight up into him and leaving a town portal, he'll typically stand right next to it. And then when you come back, you won't need to be able to reapply Prevent Monster Heal. I hope that this video helps. At the very least, it made me a bit more humble, because again, this is something that we were so sure worked a certain way for the past 5 years, and it turns out it just didn't. This is just something that's kind of across the game as a whole. It's probably caused a bunch of headaches for a bunch of people without them noticing for years and years and years. Again, in speedrunning, challenge runs, hardcore playthroughs, solo self-found playthroughs, etc. I hope that this gives you some of the information that you might need to be able to avoid these issues for yourself in the future, and good luck to you in whatever ridiculous challenge run you are personally doing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.